Hello. I've spoken in some other talks about our working lives, about, for example, taking time out during the day to do some exercise and how this may positively impact on your productivity. Today, as a result of some research I saw recently, I'd like to talk about start and finish times at work. I'll firstly give you some background to the idea of your body clock, then look at this specific research by Volk and colleagues at the University of Sydney in Australia, and finally I'd like to consider some of the potential problems with their idea. Now, those of us who have flown long distances will be familiar with the idea of jet lag, that feeling that you are more awake at the wrong time of the day and very tired at a different time of the day. And that's because of your body's internal clock, or your body clock. You may be less aware that your body clock is not only affected by long distance flights, but also by the changing of the seasons, so from summer to winter, and each individual's natural preference for the time they get up and go to bed. You may have heard of the terms an early bird and a night owl, referring to people who like to get up early, like the birds do, and those who go to bed late, like owls, who generally do their hunting for food at night. The technical term for the body clock is circadian rhythms. For those people who live in the higher parts of the northern hemisphere, or the lower parts of the southern hemisphere, the big changes in the time the sun rises and sets between summer and winter can be quite a challenge in winter, when it's dark in the morning until 8 or 9 o'clock, and then dark again by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people suffer from feeling sleepy, tired, or irritable during the winter because they do not get enough natural daylight. It can be particularly difficult to get out of bed in the mornings, and in extreme cases these feelings can lead to depression, and this is often called seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. So we have a situation where most people in regular jobs start work and finish work at the same time throughout the year. Typical working day 9 until 5. Now, these researchers in Australia, Volk and colleagues, wondered whether this fixed working time frame affects the productivity of workers who are more naturally early birds or night owls. They believed that early birds would be more productive early in the morning, and then less productive as the day wore on. On the other hand, a night owl would be unproductive first thing in the morning, but get more efficient later in the day. The technical term given to the natural circadian rhythms of people is called the chronotype diversity. It dictates when one is likely to be more active and when more interested and requiring rest. Most jobs nowadays require people to work in teams, so the researchers looked at how team performance was affected by this chronotype diversity. Perhaps you can relate to this. If you are not a morning person and a friend or colleague is a morning person, you might get frustrated with their high energy levels early in the day, and they annoyed by your lethargic nature early on. The opposite, of course, later in the day. The type of jobs your team is performing is very important in this respect. If the task requires everyone in the team to be working at the same speed and doing similar things, it is important that the whole team shares similar circadian rhythms. An example of this might be a production line in a factory where one job cannot be completed until the one before it has been done. In contrast, in jobs where attention to detail is required over a long period of time, for example, flight crews, pilots and flight attendants on long-haul flights, or perhaps nursing staff on long shifts, it is important that members of the team have different circadian rhythms, so that as one team member starts to feel sluggish or tired and less attentive, another one is starting to reach their peak levels of attention and activity. So in this case, the team members effectively cover for their peers at the time when they feel more energetic and their peers feel less energetic. This would potentially increase the safety and productivity of the team. Imagine, if you will, the pilot and the first officer on a long-haul flight who both start to feel tired at the same time. In an emergency, you want at least one of them to be alert and ready to act. So that gives you, I hope, an overview of the research's points. Jobs that require people to work together, doing similar things, require similar circadian rhythms. Others that require concentration of the team over a longer period are better off with differences in the circadian rhythms of the team members. Now, moving to my final point, some of the problems around this. Although not actually stated by the research, it might be concluded that different start and finish times are appropriate for early birds and night owls. That might help improve the productivity of the individual members of the team. However, can you imagine a workplace where people drift in and out of work at different times? What would happen if you needed to talk to someone urgently about something they had decided to come in a little bit later, or they had already left because they had started work at 6 a.m. and finished the day at about 2 p.m. That situation would actually harm productivity. Also, can you imagine being asked at an interview whether you are a morning person or an afternoon person? Most people have a tendency to embellish the truth a little in interviews. So I guess the standard answer would be something like, I never feel tired. I'm always at my peak, maybe even working beyond my peak from morning to evening, always, every day. So I'm not sure you could ever sort of build a team based around this. If you'd like to read the study, you can find it in the Academy of Management Review. It was published in 2017. Thank you.